Hi, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be using for this project a few new stamp and die sets from Altenew. The first one is the Sweetest Peas, which is the flowers here. That's the stamp and die set. It has those wonderful sweet peas that are a real old-timey flower, but they're ones I grew up with, so I just love this set. And then the other is the pinstripe. So here you can see, here's the actual set, and it has all those wonderful flowers you can choose from and some sentiments. And then the pinstripe has a pinstripe background, and then the dots and a few sentiments, and then the dies that go with the flowers. That's what we'll be using today. But to begin, I'm going to take out the pinstripe background, which sometimes these backgrounds are really tough to get out. You have to be stronger than the average bear to get them out. But now that it is, I'm going to put it into the stamping platform, and I'm going to kind of position it there, and then put a piece of a 110-pound Neenah white cardstock and make sure that it's in the right position so I can stamp it. Now the stamp I think is 5.5 by 5.5, and my paper is 6 by 6, so I have a little room to trim. I'm going to use a little bit of washi tape to put it in position. I have all sorts of magnets for the MISTI and for the stamping platform, but they just never are as effective for me as a piece of washi tape, so I just always go to those. So I stamped it with black Delicata shimmer ink. I love that ink. I only stamped it once and it didn't stamp it completely, but that's all right because I didn't want it real bold. So now that that is finished, I'm going to let that sit and dry. I'm going to take the flowers that I chose, have a piece of 110-pound Neenah white cardstock again, and then some Memento Tuxedo ink that I'm stamping these flowers with, and I'm going to stamp them twice. I'm using the Memento Tuxedo Black because it's Copic friendly, and I'm going to be coloring these flowers with Copic markers today. So now that that's been stamped and I've got a good impression, we'll start in on the Copic coloring. I'm going to color one of these flowers, and then once that one is done, then I'll speed it up and we'll just run through the other ones because they are colored exactly the same way. So I'm going to start out with the RV0000 and then go to the R32, which is kind of a corally color. These flowers images have like little stripes in them, and I thought those will be a nice complement to the pink. And then go to the RV10. Don't worry about marking these down now. You can see that I have the pen top there, and you can stop the video at any time and write them down. But you can also just pop over to our blog. There's a link in the description down below where we always have a complete supply list, so you can see them all there. So you don't need to panic about getting to the right ones. And I'll tell you that I'm just going to kind of go back and forth, but I'll just kind of run off the colors that I've been using. So it's the RV0000, which is the very pale, and then there's RV10, R83, and then the corally colors are the R22, the R32, and then I'll use a little touch of red that has a corally tint to it, the R35. I'll also add a little bit of lavender to it. I'll be using V12 and V20. But again, don't worry about writing these down because there is a way to get them. You can always go to our supply list. So I kind of go back and forth. I wanted to add a little bit of the violet, and once I add a little bit of that and then I blend it with another one, sometimes it disappears a little, so I'll go back over the colors, and I just go back and forth with these colors until I get them with the coloring that I like. Now, I actually Googled sweet peas to see exactly what colors they come in. They're a lot more. I was very surprised. It was a lot more than I expected, a lot more than I remembered. But they had some that were pictured there that had kind of a white center or a whitish center, and then went to a dark pink on the edges. And I really like those, so that's kind of the look that I was going for. So I'm going to just kind of fuss with this coloring just to get the color saturation at the top, and then the when you use the RV0000, which is very pale, you can kind of blend that out, and that works nicely. For the greens, I'm just using 3. I'm using G40, which is the light green, the G43, I love that darker green, and then I always like to add a little bit of yellow, and this is Y11. And I just kind of go back and forth using the dark G43 as the shading. So now that that one is finished, I'm going to just, like I say, speed through these. Now it'll take still, even because I have 3 blossoms, just a few minutes to get through them. If you want to skip this part, then go just on to the next step, or we'll just speed this up real fast and go through all these blossoms, just kind of as a refresher how it was done. So you can see here, I'm adding the light, then I'm going back. I just went through the stripes with the corally colors, the R32, R22, and then just spicing them up at the end with the R35. And then the pinks are the RV10, R83, and then the violets are V12 and V20. The greens, just as I said, we're just using the 3, the G40, the G43, and the Y11. Now we're getting on to the last flower, so we're nearly done. And in fact, I don't actually use 4 flowers. I went ahead and inked up 4 of them to kind of decide which one I wanted to use. But it didn't, with the panel being 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I didn't have room for the 4 of them. So with this one nearly finished, then we'll go on as soon as the greens are completely completed. We'll go on to using the dies and cut them out. The dies are very nicely fitted to these stamps. I really like it when they fit so well and they're nicely done. I find the right ones. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, finding the right piece for the right flower. But once you do, then I take a little bit of washi tape. You can use purple tape, you can use delicate yellow tape. We have all of those on our website, so whatever one suits you. So now that the flowers are all cut, I'm going to cut the panel from the pinstripe that we had stamped previously. I'm using a favorite frame style that cuts a full 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panel, but it also leaves a stitched edge. Then I have a black card base. This card base is folded asymmetrically. That means that it has a 3/4 of an inch flap, so to speak, or it's 3/4 of an inch longer on the inside or the back than the front. And so I used a little bit of anti-static powder so that I could stamp the sentiment, and I have some water there holding it down. And I'm using a sentiment from an older stamp set from Altenew called Charmed, and it says, "Enjoy the little things." It actually was a stacked sentiment, meaning the enjoy that was on the top of the little things, but I did a little stamp surgery and cut that and then made it all in one line. So I stamped that with Versamark ink, and now I'm going to sprinkle the Hero Arts white embossing powder that I had used before, and then I'm going to heat emboss that. Now, one of the reasons why I chose to do this asymmetrical fold is so that the sentiment can be seen when the card is closed or when it's open. So I'm going to go back now and work on the front panel. And if you remember, in the pinstripe stamp set, there was also these dots, and so I took one of those dots and I'm just stamping them randomly, kind of getting an idea where the flowers would be, just approximately, and then stamping a few of these dots just to give a little interest. I'm also using the black Delicata black shimmer ink, and it doesn't make it real dark because I'm only stamping it once, but that's the effect I was going for. So now I have a piece of fun foam that I've cut to fit that white panel. I taped it on. Now I'm going to tape the panel onto the card. And if you notice that the black card base is a little wider and a little bit longer than the white panel. So with that finished, I'm going to now position the flowers, and you can see how the sentiment is showing up there, and then a little later on you'll see it when I open it up. You can still see it. So I'm adding a little bit of foam tape on the back of these flowers just to pop up the blossom part of it, and then the stems I'm just going to glue down with this Tombow Mono liquid glue. I didn't want to put any foam tape there. This just gives a little bit added dimension with popping these flowers up. And all of them are the same. I put the foam tape where the blossom is, and then the liquid glue on the stem. It makes it really easy, and it gives a really nice effect. So now that this last one is now pushed into position, I'm going to trim off these longer stems there, make them even with that panel. And now you can see that in the inside, now with it open, that you still see the sentiment. And I thought it would be nice if I embossed a flower on the inside to give a little interest. So I used a little anti-static powder, inked up the stamp with Versamark ink, and now I sprinkled it with the white embossing powder and heat embossing it. I think this card will be real stunning on the inside if you write your personal note with a white gel pen. So using some crystal drops from Nouveau, this is a new color. It's called Plum Pudding. It's one of the new fall colors that are coming out. They say that plum and that mustard color is going to be very popular this fall in fashion and in other things. So I'm using these dots and just adding a few of those little embellishments. And then I'm going to take a Wink of Stella pen and add a little sparkle to each of the blossoms, and I'm also going to add it to the circles. It's very hard to see on camera, but it really looks very nice with that extra sparkle. I don't know if you can see that there. And then the flower on the inside just gives an extra pop. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the project. If you did enjoy it, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And then you please pop over to our blog. We have lots of other projects there and information. And even on this project, we have some close-ups of the card that you can get more detail. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.